Welcome to Charts This Week. My name's David Linton, I run Updata, and this week we've got a lot of charts to get through. I start each week saying, how's this week a bit different from the previous weeks? And we're going to try and look at some new charts, and a lot of you have asked me to look at different things, so we've got a lot to get through today. Market situation is, in the shorter term, we had not a great week on the US markets last week. We had a good week the week before, not a great week last week. The key thing is how will you do this week. Remember, we're below the cloud on the daily chart, so we're still in this bearish territory, really, in the medium term. So we expect the next weeks and months not to be great for markets. And we're back through on the 60-minute chart. So again, in terms of days or a week, not a great backdrop for markets. So it's not a great picture for markets this week. But of course, really what we need to look at is, if we're going to get right down to the shorter term of what's going to happen this week, and we try to give you the weekly focus with charts this week, here are the targets. So basically we've got downside targets on the S&P 500, 1071, which was met, so bearish confirmation, we've met the target. We've got a new downside target of 1046, which has been activated, and a little mini target of 1068. Markets are not that giving very dramatic signals, but there is pressure to the downside in the days ahead. We do see an upside target of 1111, so that's 1,111 points, but we've got to break through 1084 on this 1 minute chart for that to be activated. So unless we get above 1084 this week, we've probably got a lot of downward pressure on the US market. If we get to currencies, the picture on the euro, of course, is still bearish on the daily chart. Remember, daily charts is where we start with our analysis. That's a medium-term time frame. So in the weeks and months ahead, we still see the euro with a bearish picture. In the 60-minute chart, quite interesting, we had a little bullish recovery, a bearish sell-off, and we've got this bullish recovery. So this week we may well see the euro outperforming the dollar. And of course, if we go to the 1 minute chart, that's where we really get our targets from. Here we see the 124.80 was given a couple of weeks ago. We had a downside target which wasn't met, so that's actually quite bullish, the fact that we didn't meet the downside target. And we've got new upside targets coming in. Buying thrusts on the euro, 125.80, 126.50. So we're seeing a little bit of upside on the euro. And remember, with these charts, vary your box sizes to get clustering targets and get a deeper picture still. Here we see the sterling chart. It was bearish in 2008 when we crossed below on this $2 mark. Hard to remember that we were back at $2 to the pound. We then had the sell-off. We had a little bullish cross in early 2009 where we recovered to about the 175 mark. We crossed again, went back down, and this week we're just coming through on the cloud here for the 150 level. So that's quite key that we're through this psychologically important 150 mark, and it does imply the price is just coming through. The lagging line needs to get through about 153 to give us a buy signal, giving us a medium-term bullish picture on sterling. So sterling is starting to look quite interesting, and it's likely that we are going to get a bullish cross here. And of course, if we go to the 1 minute targets, here we see all upside, 151.60, 150.60, which was met. We've got a new target of 154.90, let's say 155, but we've got to cross through this 150.80 mark. But a lot of upside here on sterling in the short term, so we really are expecting sterling to continue to outperform. And here we see it versus the euro, and again we're bullish, so we see the sterling outperforming the euro. And then really what's quite interesting, and one of you's asked me to look at the Baltic Dry Freight Index, and it's really fascinating that last week we did actually break this trend. So this is really critical. This is dry bulk freight rate. Remember, it was at 12,000 at the peak. That's when oil was peaking right up there at the 147 level. We've come all the way back to 1,000. I mean, can you imagine that we fell to 8% of the cost of shipping dry goods like coal, and then suddenly we've fallen through. So this uptrend has broken. So this is really critical. Lower high than the previous high that we saw at the end of 2009, and then we're through to a lower low. This uptrend is over. So this is a key sentiment index. This is pretty bad news for the global economy, driven very much by Chinese demand. The fact is, for whatever reason, we are cracking on this index. It's falling over. So from a sentiment perspective, long term or medium to long term, this is not great news. An event that occurred last week. If we then look at gold, a lot of you have asked me to comment on gold. Conversely, gold is making new all-time highs with this 1256 level at this morning. I've had to use a 1 minute point and figure, sorry, a 1% point and figure chart here, because the price move has been so dramatic on gold. You know, from a few $100s to $1,200, we've really had to use something quite a log scale chart that deals with that change. And so this is a 1% box size, meaning the box size is changing all the way up. We still get targets, but these are now log scale targets. What's quite interesting, we had the target given about $1,000 saying 1217, which is exactly where we got to. This target was really precise. We've got a little mini target of 1279, so that's where we kind of expect gold might go to in the next week or so. And then this breakout column, maybe we could say gold at about $2,000, but that's going to take quite some time to get to. What we really need is a new pullback and thrust, giving us a buying thrust and a target. Notice how we had the little downside target, which was met. This chart, what we're really looking for is a pullback to give us the new super target. But maybe 2,000 on gold is conceivable. And then if we look at BP last of all, because a lot of you have been commenting on BP and asking me to tell you where the floor is on BP. Of course, it's incredibly difficult to say where the floor is. We'll know it once we've seen it. But one chart to look at, this is the quarterly cloud chart. This is quarterly. Can you imagine? 52 quarters is taken to actually construct the cloud. So we've gone right back to the late 80s in order to be able to produce this chart. 285 is where the lagging line would break on this chart. We look at this as a support level. So 285 is about the support level on BP. And really what we're looking for when we do this kind of analysis is more pictures that point to the same thing. Here is the 1% target on BP. 273 is the downside target that was given off this first initial selling thrust. We had the selling thrust, a little buyback, and then activated. So that's really the downside target. Notice the way the upside targets were met. So this chart's worked quite well. But the really key thing is that we've got around 270, 280 seems to be the level that the targets are pointing to. But it's slightly academic, because really what we're looking for on BP is when do we get the cross. This is the 60-minute cloud chart. We had the sell at 650 all the way down here, all the way down on the cloud. We haven't had a cross yet. We'd need to break about 353 on BP in order to be through this cloud. And of course this cloud is falling all the time, so there will come a place where BP does turn the corner and cross through this cloud. It may be near that floor at about 280. We may not get to that 280 level, but you should know it when you see it. And of course, if you're trading BP shorter term, the 1 minute point and figure chart is really the place to go. And this is just showing you how it looked last week. Here we were on Thursday, we had a downside target of 317. That was met on Friday. We had a new downside target of 299 on Friday morning. That was met very quickly in the morning. We then had at 11 o'clock on Friday morning an upside target of 313, which was met. And then late in the day on Friday we had a new upside target of 329, so really quite key. And then we've got a new upside target this morning, Monday morning, of 338, but it's not yet activated, and you can see that we do have a bit of resistance pressure here. These targets are the key if you are trading these sorts of instruments shorter term, so really one to watch if you are an eager BP trader. That's it for this week. Until next week, happy charting. See you then.